In this week's Week in Review, we have a brief touch on the market, the yield curve, the Fed decision, Bitcoin, the Mueller report, and March Madness. Stay tuned. Hey there, Justin Castelli of RLS Wealth Management, and this is all about your Benjamin's weekly mixtape and Week in Review for Saturday, March 23rd, 2019. I want to start off with a headline from the beginning of the week regarding the markets. It says, market rebound reaches crossroads after latest rally. So kind of an optimistic tone, talking about reaching highs. Are we going to go higher? Are we going to come back down? But not too pessimistic in that tone, kind of an optimistic. I feel good about that headline. So let's fast forward to the end of the week, just a few days later, and now we have a headline that says stocks, bond yields fall amid anxiety over world economy. So now we're worried about the world, the economy's falling apart, what's going to happen? Stocks and bonds are doing bad. Friday was a bad day in the market, and now there's all this turmoil. But what really happened over those 4 to 5 days to go from kind of optimistic to doom and gloom in the headlines? Really not that much. We've got a few headlines we're going to review here in a minute that may have contributed to some of that change, but I just highlight this because this is just an example of why it can be hard to be an investor sometimes when you're trying to go at it on your own. You've got to battle your own emotions as an investor, your own biases. You've got these headlines that are pulling you in different directions. How do you make sense of all of this stuff? And sometimes it just becomes harder. And that's why I think that a long-term diversified plan tied to a financial plan to your goals is the best way to allow you to kind of ignore these headlines. Not that you don't have to never read them, but not that you let those headlines cause you very much angst, cause you to lose sleep, have you make decisions based off of them. So I just wanted to show you how in the course of a few days we can go from reaching all-time highs and kind of optimism, where are we going to go from here, to doom and gloom. And there's going to be some more of this doom and gloom and recession talk coming in the short term, I'm sure, as we talk about some of these headlines coming up. So let's get to those. The first one being the inverted yield curve. So you're going to hear more about the inverted yield curve over the upcoming weeks, especially if things stay where they're at. I did a video, there's Roman. I did a video about this last year as this was first coming in. And basically, real quick, what happens with the inverted yield curve is we start to see long-term interest rates come down and short-term rates come up. Now, usually as an investor, you would expect to get paid more for holding your money out longer, less on the short term. But what's happening is we're seeing the short-term rates come up as long comes down. And the reason this is a big deal, do you know why this is a big deal?
No.
Okay, I didn't think you would. The reason this is a big deal is the last 9 times we've seen the yield curve invert, it's been a recession has come, not necessarily immediately, but it has preceded a recession. So that's why we're going to have these talks about recessions coming up. The yield curve is inverted, so recessions are on the way. See you later, Roman. So I bring this back up. Check the video from last time. There's a lot more detail about the numbers and what this all means, but that's why it's going to be in the news. Inverted yield curve has historically preceded a recession. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen tomorrow. Could be a year or two down the road. And if you really think about where we are in this whole cycle, having a recession is not something we should be surprised. It's a normal part of the business cycle. It's a normal part of investing. We are 10 years removed from the great financial crisis, which means each day that passes is one more day closer to the next recession. So those coming on TV, those writing about the recession is coming, no joke, we're getting closer because it's been so long since the last one. So don't let this scare you. Be aware of why people are talking about it. Ask your financial advisor, do you need to be doing anything to change about that? But that's going to be a big thing in the news, I think, in the coming weeks, especially if interest rates stay where they are right now with the yield curve inverted. So that's the big news right now. The Federal Reserve met this week, kept rates the same, and they also had some language that made it seem as if they're not going to be raising any rates for the rest of the year. Now, we know that they're going to be looking at the data and the numbers, and maybe that might change, but they're very cautious right now and don't plan to raise rates the rest of the year, pulling in this talk of the yield curve and maybe a recession coming, which we know is going to be coming at some point, and the global economy are all reasons to not have to raise rates with inflation staying where it's at and unemployment being where it is as well. So not a lot more to go on the Fed, but other than they met, they're not going to raise rates. They didn't raise rates now, and they don't intend to for the rest of the year, but they're going to let the data tell them what to do. It's been a while since we talked about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I included an article just because the last year has been pretty ugly. It was all the rage back at the end of 2017 when it was going crazy high, and obviously last year we know was a bloodbath. this year hasn't been much better for the cryptocurrency world. I just bring this up as I think it's still a space you need to keep an eye on, you need to continue to educate yourself on. Luckily for me and for my readers and viewers and listeners, I've got a very good friend, Tyrone Ross Jr., who's in the space. He keeps me in the know, so he's got his practice that's very heavily focused in that area, so he knows what's going on and what the future is looking like for that area. So not saying you should go out and invest in it any more than I was in the past, but I just wanted to bring this back up since now that it's not doing very well and people aren't really talking about it. Maybe it's a time to go back and revisit it if you're interested in and want to know more about it and reacclimate yourself with it, because I'm sure it's going to make another run, and when that next run comes and all of the FOMO comes up and everybody gets excited about it, remember this article today that's showing the history of cryptocurrencies and how many times they've had big drawdowns like we're in right now. I think it's down 80-85% from the highs. This is not the first time it's happened, so just remember that if you're holding it, and remember in the future when it runs back up that this is very volatile, but it doesn't mean that it's not a real investment opportunity for the future. It doesn't mean that's going to go away either. We've been here before. We'll have to see what happens next. Finally, Robert Mueller delivered his report with the Russia probe to the Justice Department, and it looks like this might be coming to an end because the word on the street is they're not going to have any more indictments in this area. So not a big mover on the markets or anything major, but it's something that's been around for the last 2 years. So the report is done, it's been given to the Justice Department, and it sounds like that might be it. Finally, again, I think I said finally last time, but finally real quick, it's March Madness, best time of the year. How's your bracket doing? I'm pulling for Carolina all the way, so go Tar Heels. Hope your bracket looks good. Enjoy the games the rest of the weekend and an upcoming week. And that's it for this week. So be sure to check the mixtape down below. Some great blog posts this week. I'm also working on trying to find some newer writers, incorporate them, and help them get their start with some good stuff as well. So hopefully we'll start to see some new names on the mixtape as well. And I'm not going to take away from the people who are there, just probably going to extend it and add some other people as well. I don't want to penalize the great writers who are always there just to bring somebody else new. Let's put them right next to each other. So hopefully the list will be growing with some new people writing and doing great content. So check that out below. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening Sunday morning on your Amazon device, head on over to allaboutyourbenjamins.com for all of the links for the articles we just discussed now, the mixtape as well. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to follow. You can follow me on Twitter at Justin Castelli, JUS10 Castelli. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the blog, to the podcast. Do it all so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.